Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer of The Athletic, who is standing by in Minnesota. I am Mark Grote of Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score, and here we are again, Dan. We are talking about a victory. The Bears make it way too interesting in beating the Minnesota Vikings 19-17 on Cairo Santos's 48-yard field goal to win the game, after Mr. Santos had missed a 45-yarder in the fourth quarter, which would have made it 19-10 at the time. We'll talk about all of it. But Dan, hello. We see yet another fourth quarter win for the Chicago Bears.
It's so hard to try to string together all of these podcasts that seem to be very similar, right? The Bears playing a game that looks good for a while, and then you're like, oh, that's a nice little win, and then it's going to be a really bad loss, and then it's a win, and then you're just trying to get your brain wrapped around all these last-minute heroics that they need to pull out to win these football games. I thought the fourth quarter unraveling today was highly unfortunate. You mentioned the missed field goal by Cairo Santos. That's a troubling moment, I think, for the Chicago Bears. DJ Moore has a drop in the fourth quarter. The defense comes unglued. They give up a couple touchdowns, and the next thing you know, you're taking a football game that you had in firm control, and you're giving it away. And yet, Grote, if your mind was where my mind was at when the Vikings were going to kick off in the final minute, you were just like, the Bears are going to figure out a way to win this because that's what they're doing this season. And indeed, they get the huge kick return from Devin Duvernay, a few DeAndre Swift runs, and all of a sudden Caleb Williams gets credit for another game-winning drive, even though all he did was hand the football off to DeAndre Swift close to field goal range.
Yeah, I'll admit, I did not think it was going to be Devin Duvernay to put the Bears in position. That was not, you always think about it in the back of your head because you're down to desperation, as the Bears were. All right, everybody, whatever you got, put it at 10, and the Bears did it again. Yeah, just to let the quick thumbnail of how this game went down. The Bears ended up losing their grip on the game. They were up 16-3. Bears had the ball. All of a sudden, Caleb is starting to get sacked after some of the great elusivity that you'll ever see from a guy. His Houdini act was alive and well. But on that particular drive, he did get sacked twice. The Bears were forced to punt. The Vikings then, while we're talking about the kick returns, Dan, they get a punt return for 41 yards, which leads to a very fast Jordan Mason touchdown run. That makes it 16-10. You mentioned the miss by Cairo Santos. Later on in the fourth, about 50 seconds left, J.J. McCarthy to Jordan Addison for a touchdown that makes it 17-16. Then the Duvernay magic, and then ultimately the Cairo Santos 48-yard field goal to win it. And no, like as my mom said, this is not fun. This is not exciting. This is like fun. Fun is being up 2 touchdowns. Fun is a late pick 6 in a game that's already over. That's fun. This is hard to watch, Dan.
It can be, but it beats the alternative. And the alternative is a Bears team that finds every way possible to lose football games. And they've changed that narrative a little bit. And when you go big picture with this team, I think we would all agree that they're ahead of schedule right now. Certainly nobody had them at 7-3 at this stage of the season, particularly after they started 0-2. And nobody's expecting this team to win the Super Bowl. And so for me, when you consider all of the big moments that they're in and all of the big games that they're setting themselves up to play, all this does is take the core group of players that are going to be with you for a while, and it puts them together in huge experiences that will build towards something in the future, both for 2025 and beyond. And I think that beyond is important to look at because now you've got a team that has a stack of evidence that they can pull these games out, and that belief that you build during those types of moments is huge, and it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off for the rest of this year. It's going to pay off in 2026, and then we'll see where they take it from there. And so, yeah, it's not fun right now, but the fact that this team knows how to find the magic in so many different ways, right? Like you just said, it's not always who you would expect. It's guys like Josh Blackwell and Devin Duvernay one week. It's Colston Loveland another week. It's Caleb Williams in another week. And so you now have this football team that really has that collective swell of confidence.
And look, I do. I own my jadedness. I own my cynicism when it comes to the Bears, and just having been in Chicago. Sorry, a little technical difficulty there. Having been in Chicago, following the team professionally, all of that. I do, because we look back at what happened in 2018, look back in 2001, where you really weren't building towards something as it turned out, even though those were great years. Where I am right now, Dan, because we're going to be asked, you and I both are going to be, and we're going to offer our opinions on how we define what the Bears are doing is 7-3. And we know the Bears played poorly in a lot of cases in this game, but we've seen the Bears win games and play poorly. Here's the deal, though, with it. I'm on board with the Bears because, unlike in other iterations like this, I think the players know that. The coaches understand that. Like in the post-game speech, Ben Johnson right away said, "I can't wait to break this down," essentially saying there were tons of things that could have been better. So,
Right.
so you in this case, unlike those other years, I think the infrastructure, I hate using that word, but I just did, is there. It is better. Ben Johnson is different than his predecessors, the other head coaches in Bears history. This feels different because it seems like they get exactly who they are and what they are, and they'd probably be the first ones to tell you that they are a fortunate 7-3, but that's what they are. So act accordingly, and accordingly is right now sitting in a playoff spot.
There's two columns in standings. Well, actually three in the NFL: win, loss, and tie. And it doesn't say fortunate wins, unfortunate losses, and shouldn't have been a tie, right? It just says wins, losses, and ties. And so the Bears may be a fortunate 7-3, but they're 7-3.
Yes.
And now they have themselves inside that playoff picture, and they've got a chance to really go forward with some things. I think you did make a good point where Ben Johnson does seem to know who this team is and who it isn't. Right. And being able to understand that as a coach is important. Being able to relay that to your team is important. And then you just go forward each and every week, knowing who you are and who you aren't, and trying to find a way to have more points when the final second ticks off the clock, which happened today. Yes. Again, with this Cairo Santos kick. I did want to ask you this, because in the moment when Cairo Santos missed that 45-yarder, your stomach drops out a little bit. It's Cairo's fourth missed field goal of the season. It's 5 if you count the one in Cincinnati that was negated by a Bengals penalty. And you're like, whoa, like this is starting to become a little bit too voluminous with these missed kicks, particularly for a team that's going to be in a lot of close games. What bothered me is it's 45 yards inside. We've got no weather inside this building where I am today. It's the last inside game that the Bears will play all regular season. And now you're like, okay, is the kicker's confidence okay? Is the team's confidence in the kicker okay? Obviously, the game-winning kick means something, but I do think you have to go into that building on Monday and have some serious reflection on what do we do with this going forward, just because you don't want it to see it come unraveled in a way that it torpedoes your season in the long run.
I was thinking about this too, Dan, actually, so I'm really glad that you brought this up. If Cairo Santos had missed that game-winning field goal,
oh God,
it would be a wild week at Haugh in terms of the kicker, right? I mean, Jake Moody, we see Jake Moody every time we get let into that locker room. He's still there. He's in the locker room, following Cairo Santos around. Obviously, like he's out there still. That this would have been, like, in so many different ways, this would have been a hot mess. I mean, that fine line that we've been dealing with this version of the Bears, and what we would have actually have been discussing if the Bears had choked this game away. And you're right, that's it. And the fine line, a 48-yard make, which was moving a little bit to the left as you're looking at it, and it is like, oh man, is he going to miss it again? He does make it, gets a game ball from the head coach. Everybody's dancing around him, but it is, I will just say, it just feels like a fluid situation with the Bears kicking game.
It's funny because I'm a big Cairo Santos defender, and I get a lot of questions from fans and family members and fans about what are they going to do, particularly when they've got a guy waiting in the wings that can take the job. And I believe strongly in Cairo Santos's track record, but the recent past is very wobbly, and you're getting to a point in the season where you don't want to feel that wobble. And so, like, I would imagine that Ben Johnson's gonna have some thoughts about this as he flies home to Chicago tonight when he gets back in the building and tries to figure things out. And they got to figure out a way to get that stabilized a little bit. A lot of things with this football team need to be stabilized. They're going to have to take better advantage of a lot of things across all three phases to be considered a team that's worthy of contending in a playoff game, right? Like, so let's say they get in the playoffs. You don't want to get in the playoffs and get embarrassed by someone really good. And so in order to do so, you got to get better in a lot of key areas.
Right. You're exactly. And that's it. I mean, you want to, the reason the part of my my cynicism, whatever you want to call it, jadedness, is because it's about, is the team good enough to not just get to the playoffs, but win one playoff game, win two playoff games? That's the game changer, because we've all seen in Bears history, we've seen the one and dones, and it feels like it's different. And I will say again, because we're going to work on continuing to define this team. They're heading to their 11th game of the season.
Yeah.
I give them the respect of saying that's a winning team right now. They know, I'm into the whole thing that I would normally have poo-pooed probably. Yeah, somehow, some way, this is one of those teams that finds a way to win. So I'm completely on board with that. They have my respect. But do I think that they are a team that is capable of winning playoff games or just a game? No, not necessarily.
Right. And we are now 2 victories away, Mark, from the long anticipated C word Take the North podcast, right? Like, if the Bears get to that 9th victory, we can bring the C word back, and our listeners know exactly what that means.
Really? That is monumental, man. I never thought I'd hear you say that.
And so it's building in that direction. Look, I don't know where to fold all this stuff in. I guess we're pretty fluid on these post-game podcasts. I did think the 2 takeaways by the Bears defense today were huge. I think when you watch J.J. McCarthy play today and you listen to the boos of this crowd here at US Bank Stadium, you realize some of the things that you and I talked about in our preview episode, just the angst and the anxiety that they're feeling right now, trying to bring a young quarterback along with a team that won 14 games last year and thinks that it can win again now. There's some really badly missed throws in this football game to some really accomplished targets, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson among them. And you're like, wow, that's awful. Like, that's ugly. That's a big time miss. JJ McCarthy was really bad today, played like the game in Chicago in week 1, pretty good fourth quarter, and stayed locked in enough to lead that final touchdown drive for the Vikings. Caleb Williams, also, I think they had very similar numbers today outside of the turnovers. We've talked forever about how Caleb has done a great job of protecting the football and how that's just like sort of just an amazing plus to have when your quarterback's working through so many other things, because that's a difference in the game today. Like Kevin Byard's interception sets up a 4-play, 5-yard field goal drive and gives the Bears 3 free points. Deshawn Wright's interception, which we'll get into the depth of what that interception was in a few minutes, takes points off the board from the Vikings in the final minute of the first half. And in a 2-point game, that's huge. And so having your quarterback be able to protect the football, the other quarterback giving you the football, all of a sudden you see like that very thin line that you talked about between being really, really happy this week and really, really disgruntled.
Yeah, and this is kind of what this Bears defense is. I mean, far from perfect, imperfect, in fact, but it does feel like, again, here we are heading to their 11th game of the season. At some point in time, you just have to allow them the respect of being what they are showing us they are. They are a team that has a knack for turnovers this year and putting themselves in great position. That interceptions in the end zone never go out of style. And you brought up the Deshawn Wright interception. Yeah. One thing I wanted to bring up too, and this was where I was kind of getting like working up a pretty good anger for the Bears. And this is when the Bears clearly early, they're outplaying the Minnesota Vikings. And there was a point where they needed to bury them because the boos were coming in heavy.
Right.
It's 13-3. Found this in my notes. 13-3. In the third quarter, the heavy boos are raining down. The Bears end up having to settle in that case for a field goal from Cairo Santos. I made it 16-3 at the time, but I was sitting. That was the point at which I became worried. Like, you gotta smother this team when you have the opportunity. And I kind of knew right then that if the Bears were not putting them out of their misery, that the Vikings would somehow, some way be there at the end of the game. Not because we saw it once at Soldier Field, more because it's the NFL. And if you don't put teams away, those teams come back. We see it every week.
The Bears are for lack of a better phrase, tickling themselves with the way they're winning these games late and finding ways to create some magic in the late game moments. But Kevin Byard was pretty emphatic today in the locker room and saying, look, like that killer instinct that we keep talking about, it can't just be like a future priority. It's got to be a now thing. Like we've got to figure out a way to deliver that knockout blow that you mentioned against teams like this that are staggering. And when you have a team on the ropes, you don't dance with them, right? Like you throw the uppercut, you hope it connects with the jaw, and then you're walking out of there with a knockout as opposed to a fight that has to go all the way to the end to win. And so I think that's a big step for this team. We'll see how they're able to develop it and when they're able to develop it. But again, like the Bears are ahead of schedule right now. And so it's like you're entering like gravy time, right? Like all of this is gravy here. And they're not going to say that. They're not going to approach their business that way. But man, it's really cool to see a football team capable of winning at this frequency. 7 of the last 8. I asked Jaquan Brisker and Tremaine Edmonds about that in the locker room. Brisker, of course, has not been a part of anything like this during his NFL career. And he just like laughed, like a really high pitched, excited laugh. Like, this is great. Like with everything I've been through during my time in Chicago, like this is great to win 7 of 8. Tremaine Edmonds, of course, has been a part of a winning team and a winning program in Buffalo. He's used to, some of these feelings, and it's good to have them in your locker room because it does allow you to go into the following week with that belief that we talk about. And I guess I'll go here now since we got a chance. That Deshawn Wright interception, if you're watching the broadcast and you notice how quickly he gets to his feet, first of all, great play, the length that he has to go up and get that pass from J.J. McCarthy in the end zone. And then you just feel the emotion pour out of him as he takes a knee behind the end zone. Lost a very dear friend to him, John Beam, the head football coach, his former head football coach at Laney College in California, the athletic director out there, shot and killed, shot on Thursday, died on Friday. And so Deshawn was playing with a heavy heart today, Grote, and to watch him kind of reflect in the locker room. I know you've gotten to know him a little bit. We obviously had him on the podcast a few weeks ago. Really good kid, really sincere kid who's taken advantage of a lot of the opportunities that have come his way this year because of the Jalen Johnson injury. To feel his pain in talking to him in the locker room, like it was heavy, and he obviously feels great about making that contribution. This is a guy that meant a lot to him as a father figure, a friend in his life, a guy who was at Soldier Field just last month to watch him play against his brother when the Saints were in town and watched him get an interception. He said the night before that game, we were walking up and down Michigan Avenue for hours because he needed to get his steps in. And so I was just out there with him getting his steps in. And so to lose someone that close to you and then feel that today, pretty much the instant that football touched his fingertips, there's a lot of heaviness to that. And I appreciate Deshawn not only for making that play, but for being willing afterwards to kind of share with us some of the pain and the emotions he was feeling today.
Wow. And really well put there, Dan. Thank you for sharing that with me and the rest of our audience. Because as you said, he really comes across as a terrific kid. And boy, the emotion of just playing against Minnesota. I mean, Deshawn Wright had a pick 6 in that first game. Team that he was on their practice squad. That he was released by them. Yeah, he was definitely released by Minnesota. The Bears scooped him up. Didn't think that Deshawn Wright was going to be having to play such a big role this year. But to your point, he has taken every opportunity and run with them. And he's as I said to him, made a cheesy joke to him. I said, "You're Deshawn in the right place always." Always in the right place.
Ben Johnson made him an honorary captain for this game too, which is some news that he delivered on Friday at a team meeting. And so Deshawn said, "Look, like with everything that was going into this week for me, returning to Minnesota, as you mentioned, dealing with the loss of someone very close to me, having that sort of little extra nudge from the coaching staff to be an honorary captain for today, it meant something to him." He said it was something special. And so nice emotional IQ by Ben Johnson to push that button, to get the response he got. And then I think we know the bond that Deshawn has with Al Harris. And Al Harris was one of the first people to greet him on the sideline with a big hug after that interception and told him he was proud of him. And he said that we both knew where that football was going, which is to the family of Coach John Beam.
That's great stuff. Caleb Williams' day was 16 of 32, 193 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, as Dan said, did not turn the ball over. Definitely highs and lows for Caleb Williams on this day. Probably not one of his best, but I'll tell you what else that does not go out of style, and that's a 15-play, 74-yard drive that the Bears pulled off with Monungai ultimately getting the TD, and the Bears going up 7-3. So Caleb hitting Burden and Komet and Loveland, and had a 6-spin move to elude the safety blitz at one point in time. So highs and lows, but that was pretty sick to see that drive put together for the Bears.
Methodical drive, a lot of it done on the ground, and it was a struggle today to get explosives. And I'm just going to look at the numbers here. They only had 2 plays of more than 20 yards.
Rome, we got the one to Rome, right?
One to Rome and one to Colston, which was a huge play at the time that Colston made it in the fourth quarter to convert 3rd and 13, and then see him rumbling down the field, which I think that's the one that set up the missed field goal.
That's right. That's a sick play, though. I'm glad you brought that up. It's good. See, winning while we're watching this team, we're like, there's no way this team's ready to win playoff. They're developing this play. Well, there it was. It's like the perfect coming together. Colston Loveland, it's the one big play he makes, and it's encouraging to see that.
And then DeAndre Swift, I think 90 or 91 yards today, and they were dirty yards today. They were hard to come by, and you had to fight for them, and the Bears understood that, and they forecast that throughout the week, that they were going to have to be locked in for all 60 minutes and have the physical stamina and the mental wherewithal to get across the finish line today. And so a lot of guys had to contribute to that. But look, like I think you probably felt the way we felt here in Minneapolis, like you're at the end of the third quarter and you're like, this has not been an entertaining football game, right? Like it's been a rock fight, and there hadn't been a whole lot to kind of marvel about. And then the fourth quarter turns into what the fourth quarter became. And again, the Bears find a way across the finish line and get to 7-3 with the Steelers coming to town next week. And Aaron Rodgers, I think he returned to the game today, but I know he suffered a hand injury in that game against the Bengals. And so wouldn't it be funny if old Aaron Rodgers decided to duck out on the Bears, Grote? What if he just decided he didn't want to play?
I would find that decidedly uninteresting. For the record, it is his non-throwing hand, right? It's his left hand that was hurt.
You have to tell me. I didn't follow
I'm pretty sure that's the case. Yeah. So I think, I mean, like, I want him to play. Of course I want him to play. I don't want anybody ducking out. Get in there, and the Bears give it to him. It's a new era of anti-Rodgersness at Soldier Field for the Chicago Bears. So good for them if it comes down to that. I know we're going to give out some game balls here in a second, and some results apparently from our prop. But do you have any 3-word reviews, Dan, that you want to let out, or you want to wait on that?
Let's do a couple, because I was just going to bring that up, because somebody got in on the express line here, and his name is Ed Wiederer. That would be my older brother.
Hey, Ed.
3-word reviews. So Ed jumped in at 4:35 today with a text directly. Let's just bypass the line. It's the fast pass into the 3-word reviews. And he said he has 2 versions today. One is just win normally, because we were asking them to just lose normally not that long ago. And then his second 3-word review is all caps, please win normally, which I think reflects the stress that a lot of Bears fans are feeling right now of going through all of this anxiety down to the final seconds of all these games. I think it's costing some people some heart palpitations.
I'm telling you, man, I got old parents. I told you.
I've got a couple more here that I'll give you. Lawrence Algie gives us lucky or good ? Which, I think that's a question a lot of people are trying to figure out right now. Javen Terry, echoing my brother's theme, he says years off life, which is a great way to put the stress that the Bears are causing it. Ard WG22 gives us never in doubt. I think it was in doubt for a little bit there, right? Maybe just a little bit. All throws lead to Rome, says lots of bourbon tonight. He needs to kill some of that stress with a little bit of alcohol. Last one from Orlo 23. New heart needed. So there's a theme here, Grote, of Bears fans who are obviously enjoying this, but maybe not being very relaxed in the way they're enjoying it.
Enjoy the ride.
There you go. I love it.
3-word review just for you. And speaking of which, apparently Adam Studzinski, our executive producer, who we should bring in right now and give out some game balls. He's the youngest one here, but apparently his health is not particularly good due to the ongoings of the Chicago Bears.
This team's going to kill me, guys.
I understand.
You You guys said it. Just win normally. Like, like God, come on. It had to, especially because the winning field goal was drifting. It was like,
right. I mean, it's like we said, man. Like again, if that's a miss, and not just the loss, it's we're up and running on the kicker controversy.
Oh yeah, for sure,
all
for
week.
Sure. So I wanted to follow up on our bet of the week that me and Dan correctly called that you did not correctly call, Grote. JJ McCarthy did not hit his passing prop. It was 215. McCarthy had 150 yards.
Yeah.
I think before that first Viking, before that last drive the Vikings had, I think McCarthy had under 100 yards. I mean, it
was bad.
Yeah, he was bad today. But anyway, are we ready for game ball? I just wanted to brag about that because me and Dan won and Grote lost.
Yeah.
You give the first game ball away here, Studs, so we can get you back to the heart medicine that you got to take to calm the blood pressure.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I probably will have to have heart medicine at some point in my life due to family genes and all. But anyway,
Jesus,
I actually I didn't mean to get too real there. Sorry.
Too late, pal.
Yeah. Well, it is. I actually was gonna go with Deshawn Wright for my game ball. For all the reasons that Dan mentioned. I didn't realize that he was as close to John Beam as he was.
Yeah.
And then so it was after that interception happened, I started seeing it on social media and stuff, and then you see that. So obviously a great moment for him, and really great interception, and took points off the board like you guys talked about. So it was who knows how this game turns out if the Vikings get a field goal there, right? So
right.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Deshawn Wright as my game ball.
I like that one, Studs, and I want to give one more shout out to how mature and graceful he was in answering questions after the game in a moment. That's not stuff's not easy to talk about, and to stand there in a crowded locker room amid that chaos and be able to handle that the way he did was great stuff. Who you got, Grote?
And by the way, if you guys want to get to know Deshawn Wright a little bit, it's from a few weeks ago, but you can just go back on our episodes. We'd actually had Deshawn Wright on for about 5 or 6 minutes or so. You get an idea of kind of what he's all about. And just keep in mind that that's a few weeks ago and where the Bears were and all of that stuff. So
while you give away the game balls, I'll look up the exact date of that.
Yeah, thanks, man. Perfect. Appreciate that. I am going to go, you know what? I'm going to go with Devin Duvernay. I mean, that's just such a massive play. He won the game for the Bears. He made it a lot easier. Caleb didn't have to make the massive throw on the final drive. Really good running drive, all of that stuff. Duvernay made it possible for the Bears to just think all they got to do now is get themselves into field goal position. So game ball, Devin Duvernay is what I got.
All right, I'm going to give one more away, and it's going to go to Kevin Byard because his now interception total has spiked up to 5 here. And Grote, I know you listen to him after some of these interceptions, and he's able to detail how these plays happen in a way that makes you appreciate his veteran wisdom, and understanding the route combinations and some of the things that the Vikings did formationally. And he really just kind of baited the hook for JJ McCarthy, who never saw him kind of sinking back into the coverage on the ball that he picked off in the first half. It's a huge play in the game for a Bears offense that was atrocious in the first quarter to finally get a short field. And they were atrocious on that drive as well and didn't pick up a first down, but got 3 points out of it because of Kevin Byard's interception there that gave him the short field. He's just been so steady all season. The production's there. Yeah. He was the first one to point out in the locker room afterwards, this is my 3rd season with at least 5 interceptions. And so he believes in himself, who he is at this stage of his career, year 10, and another nice day for Kevin Byard.
I'll just give a quick shout out to the secondary in general, because worst case scenarios, Richard Jefferson goes off or Jordan Addison neither did. I mean, Justin Jefferson, 5 catches for 61 yards. I think Jordan Addison just 2 catches. I know he had a couple of drops along the way.
And then he has the touchdown at the end. Yeah.
He did have the touchdown. But they did a pretty good job against them because the fear was there for sure. Mr. Studzinski, what have ye for us?
Right. So if you want to hear the conversation with Deshawn Wright, it was the listen to this episode that was posted on Saturday, October 25th. So you got to scroll back a little bit, but Saturday, October 25th, and it's in that listen to this episode. It was if it helps you out, it was right before the post-game pod where they lost to the Ravens.
It's not that long ago. So you get a little longer idea of what he's all about.
Yeah, and I think, like when you're in the locker room the way we are all the time, the relationships and the trust takes time to build, and it's little things like that, 6 minutes on a Thursday in the locker room that helps you build rapport with a guy. So then when you are standing at his locker after a game like this, in a moment like this, you have a connection and you're able to kind of talk on a human to human level. And I think that was helpful today for a lot of us reporters in there to have gotten to know Deshawn the way we have. And, it made the whole process a little bit smoother.
Very cool. Very cool.
By the way, since you guys mentioned Kevin Byard's 5th interception, leads the league in interceptions now.
There you go. Pro Bowl bound, particularly if the Bears get in the playoffs, right? You'd have to imagine that he would be getting that type of consideration here at this point.
Oh, man. Interesting. So much more to talk about this game. And, we're going to do it throughout the week on the Take the North as the Bears are 7-3 through 10 games. We're 10 games through the 25 season starring Ben Johnson and this very interesting Chicago Bears team. That is what they are at the very least. They host Pittsburgh on Sunday. That is a noon game at Philadelphia. That is the day after Thanksgiving. They call that Black Friday, November 28th. It's a 2 p.m. game that day. Then they're at Green Bay and then back home to play Cleveland. So get on the ride, man, because that is what we are taking you, and Dan and I will try to steer everybody through it.
We all go to bed with the are the Lions tonight or are they Monday? I'm losing track of everything today.
The Lions will be tonight. So
at this moment, as we're finishing this podcast, the Bears are all alone in first place in the NFC North, pending the result of that Lions-Eagles game.
Right. And hey, man, Eagles would be very, very capable of beating that team. But by the time a lot of people are listening to this, we already know.
That's true.
All right. Let's get out of here, Dan. The view looks great. Great stuff. Some of the insight you were able to share with us from the locker room that is absolutely invaluable. And there it is, that beautiful stadium that. And Kevin Warren, by the way, got himself a game ball. Did you see that in the locker room? Because
I sure did.
Yeah, happy birthday to Kevin Warren. And hey, would love to see a stadium like that, wouldn't we?
I would love. I mean, this place is cool. Every time we come in here, we're here every year. And as you walk in, I think I told you on the last episode, I had a bunch of buddies in town for this particular game, and a lot of them had never been in here before. And so I'm interested to kind of get their post game recap of what this place was like, because it's alive and it's a cool place, and hopefully the Bears can get something similar, and hopefully they can get it before you and I are really old, and before before Studs reaches that heart failure that he's forecast as imminent.
Amen. But yeah, no, it was Kevin Warren who oversaw the building in Minnesota. That is why we prop that up and discuss it. All right, we're all good. We're all healthy. The Bears are healthy. For Dan Wiederer in Minnesota and all of The Athletic, read him, follow him, listen to him on The Score. For our executive producer, Adam Studzinski, I am Mark Grote of The Score, saying thank you so much for watching and listening to the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.